The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone and welcome to day 4 of our 4-part webinar series, Make Fax Great Again. For those of you who have been with us all 4 days, and I see many of you on the line, thank you for joining us this week. We have a really special presentation today with 2 of our esteemed partners, Etherfax and FaxCore. Etherfax is the preeminent leader in hybrid faxing, or as they like to call it, partly cloudy faxing. Because of the agnostic architecture of Etherfax, they're able to cloud enable just about any fax server on the market today. So if you are looking to cloud enable your existing WriteFax server or looking for an entirely new fax solution, Etherfax can extend that infrastructure into the cloud securely and cost effectively. But if you're looking to replace your aging fax solution, as I know many of our customers are, then you are in for a treat today with our presentation from FaxCore. FaxCore is built on the latest and most sophisticated technology and provides the features and capabilities our customers are demanding for on-premise, hybrid, or cloud faxing. So I'm very happy to introduce our speakers today. Joining us from Etherfax, we have Ken Romo, Business Development Manager, and Quinn Corey, Director of Sales. From FaxCore, I'm very happy to welcome Chris Kaiser, the FaxCore Sales Engineer. And again, from Instant Info Systems, I'm very happy and so grateful that Juan's been able to join us every day this week. Juan Cueva, our Director of Technical Services. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we get going. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this, but on the right side of your screen, you should see the GoToWebinar control panel. Here you can type in your question at any point during the presentation. And at the end of our presentation, we will answer just as many questions as time allows. But rest assured, if we don't have time to get to your specific question, we will have somebody reach out to you directly to make sure you get the information you need. A little bit about IIS, and I know this is quite redundant, so I won't spend much time here. I do just want to point out that, you have seen many solutions this week. And we are very, very proud to be representing some of the best of breed solutions in the market. Combined with our expertise in these market-leading solutions, along with our long-standing expertise in WriteFax, there is no organization better equipped to help you make the transition from WriteFax to a more advanced solution. And at the end of the presentation, Juan Cueva will have a lot more detail on that. So real quick, our agenda today. We're going to start off with a great presentation from Etherfax. We're going to talk about their hybrid faxing, the benefits of hybrid faxing, and a brief competitive comparison of other hybrid solutions on the market. Then we'll turn it over to Chris Kaiser at FaxCore. He'll go over the FaxCore architecture and differentiators and do a quick live demo of the interface. And then Juan will conclude our presentation today to talk about how IIS can help you make this transition from your existing legacy fax server to a FaxCore solution or an Etherfax hybrid solution as easy and seamlessly as possible. So with that, I'm very happy to turn it over to my friend and colleague, Ken Romo.
Thank you, Julie. As Julie mentioned, my name is Ken Romo. I'm with Etherfax. I've been in the fax business many years. I've been with OpenText/WriteFax for over 17 of those years. During that time, I've worked with IIS on designing and some of the world's largest fax system, if not the world's largest fax system. So again, to Julie's point, IIS is very well equipped to provide any information and move you on to the next phase of your fax requirements. So let's get started with Etherfax. So again, what is Etherfax? Etherfax can be looked at as the fax board in the cloud. So what we do to any fax server application, any API integration, is remove all the telephony from your infrastructure. More importantly, we're laser focused. That is our core business, is our fax infrastructure as a service. And so we do that best of breed and with technologies that I'll go over on how we're the most robust, reliable service out there. So again, we can say we are the de facto service out there, but I love this slide because it lets the market speak for itself. So as you can see in here, all the major fax server vendors are on here. A lot of the hardware vendors, Multitech. We have a device called an A2E device that can cloud enable any MFP fax device out there. So again, we can talk about this, but here's proof that no matter what solution you have, Etherfax can be that high availability disaster recovery delivery system for you. So some of the product highlights. So first off, on the infrastructure itself. As mentioned, we do eliminate all the hardware that's involved in telephony. What we've seen in the market in fax server business is traditionally, fax servers have been connected to boards and many types of telephony. The next evolution of that was fax over IP in what we called new telephony. And then lastly, we were one of the first hybrid fax solutions, and what we did was remove all the telephony from on-premise. Now what we're seeing in the market and why we're being so successful is that a lot of the fax over IP infrastructures today, even the major carriers out there that claim they can do fax over IP with T.38 protocols, etc., we're seeing that it's fallen over, especially after hours with large page deliveries. They're just not getting the reliability and the fax delivery that they used to do with their old-time fax boards. So we have a fully fault-tolerant DR system. We give heartbeat alert notifications if you're connected or not connected. We're PCI DSS Level 1 certified. We're HIPAA certified. And again, on the inbound side, never busy. So a little bit of the architecture, just so you understand, picture says 1,000 words. What you're looking at here, basically on the left-hand side, is your infrastructure. It can be a fax server, it can be a device, it can be an application. Again, if you can Google, you can Etherfax. So we do it through a very secure. Our infrastructure was designed with security in mind from the ground up. You deliver and receive those faxes through your public internet connection. And we will go over security because we know how important that is in any type of fax solution. Now here's our backbone. The reason this is important is because this is a huge differentiator for us. So we only use TDM technology. And so what does that mean to you? Again, I mentioned it's the most reliable, most robust technology out there for fax. It gives you the fastest fax delivery. We have GigE failover. We have several internet providers. We have active data centers. Today we're in Newark and Toronto. We're going to be bringing up our Denver site as we speak. And so again, I'll go over some real-time examples of why this architecture is so important. So again, a lot of our customers use a fax server application like FaxCore, for example. And what this dashboard does is it gives you the full 360 view, if you will. So a lot of the functionality that you get to get status and look at, if your faxes are coming or going, if they've been sent successfully, you can do through the application. However, what our competitors don't let you do is look at a public dashboard like this of our infrastructure. It tells you, what the statuses of your sent and received faxes are. So we, not only do we offer you this, we also proactively notify you on any conditions of the service. And so again, from a customer perspective, you get what we like to call that 360 view of your entire fax system. So again, I talked to you a little bit about the infrastructure. So one of the things we do, this is a public site, by the way, you can go and get this information. There was a cyber attack here recently. What a lot of our customers came to us and said that they didn't even realize this was happening until Etherfax notified them. So again, back to the point of proactively notifying, not only did we notify this, but again, we suffered no downtime and were able to mitigate any of these situations from the front end of our application and our service so that our customers receive absolutely no downtime during this cyber attack. So again, to security and privacy, as mentioned, we were built from the ground up with security and privacy in mind. We have, highly secured defense in-depth systems. We support ECC. We have military-grade encryption that exceeds the standards of both the NIST and the NSA. We have CIDR restriction rules, so if your IT requires that we only speak to even down to a specific IP address, we offer that as well as authorized personnel only. So again, we'll go over the compliances too that ensure that we're adhering to this security and privacy protection. So again, we can't talk about security enough. Often we get asked the question for compliancy, what we do with the faxes. We actually tear those down using the FIPS 140-2 method. Our groundwork was designed, from security from the ground up. And again, we use only TDM telephony. And again, the reason that's important is again, for the most robust, reliable infrastructure out there. I already told you that FOIP, especially with the major carriers, is starting to fall over. So what you're looking at, again, this is a public site, and it measures the SSL security of different web services out there. So this one out here happens to be the EasyLink site. So that's what RightFax Connect uses for their hybrid version. As you can see, that is their rating. I think about a month ago, I think we took that snapshot. So they received an F rating on that security diagram there. And here's EtherFax's rating. We got an A rating. Same site, again, public-facing, third-party. These are sites that go out there and measure, the security of web services that are out there on the market. So again, we talked about compliancy. We are HIPAA compliant. We currently have PCI DSS level 1 security. We're in the process of getting our 3.2 and also SSAE 16. That a lot of people might know that certification is SOC 2. Well, this one replaced it. So the point of that bullet is that we have the latest certification required to offer our customers the highest level of security and compliance. And so I wanted to make a few comparisons, and actually one of the slides didn't make it before I go into that. The reason why TDM is so important is recently there was a major carrier outage, and I mean even the big guys, Verizon, AT&T, all suffered outages, and we did not. And the reason why is because, again, back to that backbone, I told you I'd get back to that slide, is that we have infrastructure that we have multiple routes. So again, because we're not using fax over IP, we were able to route this traffic, and I believe we were one, if not the only fax service out there that suffered no downtime during that major outage. So again, that's the reason why our technology is so important. Laser focus on a fax infrastructure as a service for the fax market, and again, designed with both security, reliability, and robustness. Now, I wanted to compare a little bit of EtherFax versus RightFax Connect. So one of the major differences is that EtherFax is a real-time network. So what does that mean to you? I mentioned a little bit when you're in the application. A lot of these applications give you that real-time interface. Well, you're still going to experience that if you go from a board solution to EtherFax, whereas in RightFax, it's a first in, first out, or some people call this a store and forward. Well, you're just going to send all these messages, and then when RightFax Connect happens to have a free channel or whatever their process is, then it'll deliver it out. So again, the difference is you have a real time. Again, I showed you the dashboard, so you have visibility in the transmission. So you know about our infrastructure and your infrastructure. On the Connect side, you kind of throw the faxes out there, wait for a status to come back. There's no consistency on when those come back or how they come back. Again, you're limited to the interface that you're connected to them by. I talked about security. I think I talked about it enough. I showed you the grades on the SSL connections from public sites. RightFax Connect also has a mix of TDM and fax over IP. And just so you know, a lot of the reasons why people use fax over IP is for cost, but with lower costs comes those errors where, when there was that major outage, we have been told by their customers that they did suffer downtime. So that's a different thing. All our North American data centers are PCI Level 1 certified. Not true on the RightFax Connect side. In fact, if you want DRHI high availability with RightFax Connect and need PCI certification, today they do not offer that. They don't have a data center in Canada. I talked about the destruction method that we use. And again, we were the first hybrid, if you will, solution out there in the market since 2009. So again, we have a lot of that scar tissue. We're extremely flexible, easy to work with, whereas on the OpenText side, they want at least a 3-year contract, etc. And lastly, again, you've heard me mention that we're laser focused, and what I mean by that is our infrastructure is designed for security and fax. Whereas on the OpenText side, they have a mixed mode, if you will. So they do voicemails, emails, fax, all out of those same web service calls. And we know, again, we've been told by customers that one of their recent outages before the carrier outage was due to one of their other applications, their managed file transfer application that shut down the fax service. So again, you have other competing technologies on their infrastructure, not just fax, whereas again, we are in the fax business. So thank you again, IIS, for letting EtherFax present here. I'd like to introduce Chris Kaiser. He is a sales engineer with FaxCore. FaxCore was one of the first enterprise fax servers to integrate with EtherFax. They have a lot of successful stories. So with that said, I'll turn this over to Chris.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it. My name is Chris Kaiser with FaxCore. My career in the fax server world started in 1997, and today I work for what I would consider the leading, most developed fax server product on the market, and that is FaxCore, based out of Parker, Colorado, with remote offices in Kuala Lumpur as well as Singapore. FaxCore is a fax server built from the ground up on Microsoft .NET platform and Internet Information Server. FaxCore does offer a robust multi-tenant design, and by that, users from multiple OUs as well as individual security groups can be imported from your Active Directory and assigned to their own containers, which are also referred to as domains within FaxCore. Messages received within those containers are only visible as well as accessible by the members of those particular FaxCore domains. From your Active Directory, and we import everything directly into FaxCore, or you can choose which components you'd like to bring in. Messages received are entirely secured, as I stated. It'll allow you to move users from those containers into other containers if they need to gain access to other environments. It's very handy. It allows you also to apply custom cover pages instantly to an entire department, group, or regional office. Thus, management is a breeze. Sending FaxCores from PCs or Macs can be done via email, Outlook, Exchange integration, Gmail, Office 365. FaxCore's IP printer driver is for a Windows machine, and that is a really powerful printer driver that has batching capabilities built in. Thus, you can print from multiple documents and applications and have all of those sent out as a single job, all right from the user's desktop. FaxCore's browser user interface, i.e. Edge, Chrome, Firefox, Safari. Receive faxes via email or web UI. You can also have those same inbound faxes posted to SharePoint, FTP to an offsite location, written to a SAN, NAS, or file server, or very popular avenue, directly into your own document management system, utilizing Hot Folder or via an HTTP put. Sending faxes from your MFPs, we have plenty of copier connectors, Sharp, Xerox, Konica, to name a few. You can fax enable your applications with our .NET SDK. Your homegrown apps that are written in .NET can absolutely tie right in with minimal code. Every fax can be OCR'd in FaxCore, and you can search upon that and able to pull up data. You want to look for sales, no problem, pull every fax that has the word sales in it. And to reiterate, what ships with FaxCore? We'll go over a couple of these again. Fax web interface is entirely included, single sign-on, Windows authentication, whereas the end user's credentials are passed through their browser session and auto-authenticated directly into FaxCore. Native SMTP integration, as I stated before, with Exchange 2016 and lower, entirely included. .NET SDK is entirely included for you. We do not charge for that. No FAT client is needed. As I stated, those browsers will work as it ships. Administration via an Android or iPad. It was designed for single click, so there's no double click, so you can utilize it on these types of devices with touchscreens. Printer driver is deployable via MSI, so you can take that and push it out to your entire infrastructure. of desktops. Multi-tenant design, as I stated, is included. No extra charge for that, and that's really, really handy. Security especially. What's inside FaxCore? How it interfaces is in the first column there into the .NET, whether it's the users hitting the GUI, SDK pushes, file gateway drops, and then of course it hands it off to the workflow processes, which you see in your second column there. Dispatching, rendering, etc., and then pushing it over to the telco layer. Plenty of copier connectors, as I stated earlier. One of the first Sharp OSA integrators. We're working with 3.5 up to 4.5 and beyond. Xerox EIP, Konicka's best program, doing certification this week, as a matter of fact, in Connecticut. Ricoh connector, and as well as Toshiba and eCopy ShareScan. Digital sender technology that you may know has been ported into their latest HP MFP offerings. We were one of the first digital sender connectors, and that still works today with their latest technology. Lexmark and a lot of other copiers can be done with SMTP, so it's entirely included, the SMTP portion. RoboFax is a monitoring tool that you can utilize to test every component of the FaxCore fax server, whether it's an SDK at a timed interval. You can set up as many test cases as you'd like within the RoboFax application. You ideally run it from a different machine than FaxCore is on, but you could absolutely put it on the FaxCore server if you chose to. You can test the telco layer, EtherFax, all of that. FaxCore has a wonderful high availability design, having a primary and secondary web server on this side of your F5 or your Coyote Point load balancer allows your telco layer to tap into the load balancer and be handed off to an available server. It does exactly that. You can not only just load balance your user traffic, the API calls, the telco as well. I'm going to do a live demo before we hand it off, if that's all right with you. It's going to be pretty quick here. I just want to give you an idea of what this FaxCore interface looks like. It runs on IIS. As I stated, it is a website. The telco layer is an entirely different layer. We tap into it, whether it's EtherFax or Brook Trout boards. Pretty simplistic. The user interface, most of your users will use their Outlook clients, but you as the administrator, you can easily get to all of your ports, availability, setting up dialing rules, looking at status, all available from any browser. Want to view all messages or just certain messages? You can assign admins to just certain subdomains if you wanted, and you have the ability to open these faxes up and see them directly right here. Forward to a user, forward to another fax number, print it to a local or network printer, save the PDF or a TIFF locally. You want to view that content that I talked about with the OCRing data? There it is. There's all that OCR, and that's stored right inside SQL. The images are stored in the XDoc or a document store. And now I'd like to turn it over to Juan from Instant Info Systems, who will talk about the transition and migration services.
Great. Thank you very much, Chris.
You're welcome.
As we bring up the slide here, once again, I just want to thank everyone for joining here for the fourth day. I'll be wrapping up today with some of the same topics around transition services. However, today I'll be describing how our solutions are unique to FaxCore and EtherFax with our product offerings and how they integrate. So once again, here's an overview of our services, our pre-sales, professional services, and technical support. We offer a wide variety of expertise from the pre-sales side in helping you choose what the right solution is for you. We know that customers each have unique requirements and needs, and as we've been going through over the last 4 days, there are multiple things to consider here, whether it's hybrid solution, whether it's a completely on-prem solution, whether it's a completely cloud solution. But we can help you make the right decision there from our pre-sales perspective. We can help you with the professional services and getting that solution implemented and transitioned over. And then we can help you on the support side and post-implementation side to answer your questions and to help you keep your environment up and running. Here, once again, we've been covering this over the last 4 days, but we have long tenure here with folks on the technical side and the sales team. We have a lot of expertise on the fax side. Ken Romo mentioned, he's been around in the industry for quite some time. So has Chris. I myself have been in the industry for over 20 years as well, and we bring that expertise and we combine it to really help you make the right decisions here. Our transition services, we've put this together in helping customers transition over from a discovery, from the user directory considerations, from data migration and integration. So I'll dive a little further into each of these here. From a discovery standpoint, what are the different considerations, particularly related to FaxCore and EtherFax in our topic today? What are the different considerations that we have to take a look at? FaxCore actually offers a very nice option in terms of user separations. They've got a domain infrastructure where you can actually separate users and groups, for example, considering departments and how you may have to separate them out, providing delegates that you may have to take into consideration, different cover sheets for those within those domains. And you can really separate it out and really create a multi-tenant environment within your environment. That's definitely a consideration to take. I've talked about this topic in several of the webinars over the week in terms of companies that are looking at consolidations or mergers that they've gone through, and they're really trying to bring everything into one solution. However, they may be wanting to separate it out just by different departments and needs. So those are different considerations you can take a look at. So the discovery will help you go through that. The DID setup, any billing codes and dialing rules. Chris went over the dialing rules in his presentation, how that can be set up within the FaxCore infrastructure. But taking a look at it from an EtherFax perspective, when we take a look at DIDs, once you have those DIDs set up on the EtherFax platform, again, when taking a look at EtherFax, they basically take compliance and security as their highest priority. You have those numbers over. We have customers that have had WriteFax with EtherFax, and we've seamlessly been able to transition them to other solutions because, as you see, EtherFax has a connection to multiple fax solutions. Once we get their environment up and running and all their application and integrations tested, we just move that EtherFax account over. Okay, on the next slide here, I'll talk about user directories. So what are the considerations here, and what are our options? FaxCore as well has AD integration, as Chris described. We can route to a network directory. We can route to printers. We have customers actually that are using FaxCore both kind of in a cloud solution and on-premise solution. And then the EtherFax combination basically, as Ken mentioned, brings it over from a really putting the boards in the cloud in a secured environment, and really leveraging that and reducing the amount of time that, as an administrator, you're taking to administer that environment and the infrastructure. Data migration. So what are the considerations with data migration? I've talked about this topic. What do companies need to take into consideration? Compliance being the major consideration. Do you need to keep the data for a long period of time, or do you actually want to get rid of it? And basically, once the fax is transmitted, do you want to delete that? Those are different options that we can evaluate in the customer's needs. Evaluate whether you have current aging parameters and we can replicate those. What are you going to do with your existing images? Are you going to keep them on the existing fax solution? Are you going to migrate them over? I'll talk about it here in the next slide in terms of some of the tools that we have available for helping you with those options and being able to move it if you do have that requirement. Or just moving it to an actual ECM, some sort of other app, archiving or documents management application that you guys may have in your environment. So in terms of data migration, FaxCore has also put together some tools that will help us migrate the data if that is a requirement. We do have customers, like I mentioned, who have actually just kept the data. If they're aging out their faxes in their existing solution, a lot of times we just leave that server up and running for that period of time until all the faxes age out. And then we just move over the particular settings, users, groups, delegates, the different considerations, phone books. You want to consider this, and we take this into highest consideration when we work with our customers. We want it to make it seamless for the user. So we work with you through the discovery to really take a look at what's important for that end user from either a desktop faxing considerations or from the integration sides from the application side. And then we're able to import that into the FaxCore domain infrastructure, as I talked about. Next here I have the integrations. So what are our options with integrations? Within integrations, FaxCore has a file drop option. That's a very common option that we see with other fax solutions. They've actually also built an RF parser, so we've actually been able to take customers' embedded codes and have this RF parser application just translate those and then be able to submit them through FaxCore with no changes on the back end. Because a lot of times those legacy applications, you may not have the staff that may be able to make changes on the back end. So we're just able to take that stream of data and parse it through to the new application. Chris covered quite a bit here on the MFP integrations, application-specific integrations with SAP, FileNet. FaxCore also has web services APIs, as Chris mentioned. We also have EtherFax also has a direct API integration. So we have several customers actually who have implemented several flavors of this. They've integrated, for example, FaxCore for the desktop integrations, and then we have a direct integration through the API directly to EtherFax that's integrated through the EtherFax API. The file drop option has also given us a lot of flexibility to just take the interpretation, the file gets dropped, we interpret it, we get it faxed out, and then FaxCore takes care of all the notifications. So there's a lot of integration points that we have to consider here, a lot of tools, again, to make it easy for the transition that we're talking about. Okay. Telephony integrations. What a great segue here in terms of what we've been talking about today, particularly with EtherFax. Most common issues, as I've mentioned in the last 4 days with tickets, are with the dock transport or transmission issues. The industry has evolved in the sense that most carriers are delivering SIP trunks to the on-premise environment. We've had some success with that. However, we've also seen a lot of transmission errors just due to the topics that Ken was mentioning. They may work during the day, but at night, if they shift over their traffic on the back end through the carrier side, through a different method, you may see a lot of transmission errors during the evening, for example. Those are just some of the things that we've seen out there. So what are the considerations for you with boards? If you have boards today, are those boards old? Do they actually have the PCI platform for the new servers? Most customers that we see are actually moving over to virtualization, so they have the flexibility of moving that application. So how old are the boards? Are you going to really be going with boards? Or EtherFax is a great solution. EtherFax gives us the ability to have a large number of ports. So let's say, for example, on the inbound side, you also only have some peak times during certain times of the month. It gives you that flexibility where you can also take all of those without a busy signal, since they have built such a large network on the back end, and then still be able to bring those into the application. On the outbound side as well, we have large capabilities and a large amount of volume that can be transmitted over. We typically size the application just based on those particular peak times with the number of channels. And we can talk to you about the uniqueness of each of the applications and how they integrate with EtherFax. But EtherFax has been a great solution for a lot of our customers, where it, again, takes away that infrastructure requirements for fax and really puts it in an environment where they're concentrating specifically to fax and improving the fax transmissions there. Okay, so how can Instant Info Systems help you? We've been talking about this topic over the last 4 days. Our knowledge, again, extends to really taking a look at what the customer's unique requirements are. What can we help you with in terms of the integrations? What's changing in your environment? What are the main considerations? Is it telephony? Is it because you're changing the version of your application and that application that integrates into the fax solution? We have migration expertise with multiple of these applications, as I've talked about today with FaxCore and some of the other solutions over the last few days. And then our services and support, where we can help you in really transitioning and making it very smooth. Our goal, again, is to make the transition as easy and seamless as possible for you, taking into consideration what's important for your customer, whether, again, the desktop faxing, whether it's the main integration portions, or all of the above. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to Julie so we can go through some of the Q&A questions that we get.
Great, Juan. Thank you so much. And I want to send a big thank you to Chris Kaiser and Ken Romo for your presentations today. So much great information. And I know there's lots of questions queued up already, so we're going to try to get through as many of these as we can in about the next 7 or 8 minutes. But great presentations today. I really do appreciate all that information from Ken and from Chris today. Okay, so let me look through this list here, and there are a lot. I'm going to try to look at some themes here so we can cover off on the topics that are of most interest to our audience. We get asked this one a lot. How easy is it to migrate away from WriteFax to another enterprise fax server solution? I think this just builds on your presentation that you just gave us, Juan. Do you want to talk about our specific experience in doing that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's where Instant Info Systems is really able to help you. We've been working with WriteFax for such a long time where we understand each of the different components and integration pieces. With that being said, we have a lot of tools that we built around it to be able to help you with those integration points and basically move you over to a more robust application where it's taken into consideration those particular requirements that you may have around high availability, around the web services, around a web client that gives you the interface that end users are needing. And we can help you with that transition, making it very easily. We typically build the application side by side to basically reduce the amount of downtime that you may have in that transition. And once you have all of your application integrations tested, then we'll work with you on cutting that over, whether it's through just moving over the lines and on your on-premise environment or porting over the numbers, as we've helped many customers with the EtherFax solution.
Perfect. Thanks, Juan. Okay, so let's see. I have a question, an EtherFax related question. Does EtherFax have global coverage? I'll send that over to Ken or Quinn.
Yeah, Julie, this is Quinn. I'll be happy to answer that. Yeah, we actually do have a global footprint. Ken kind of highlighted on that a little bit of our roadmap. We have the ability to do 35 number in terms of line number portability. What exactly that means is take an existing number from a specific country and being able to port that number. It's extremely important to note if you do have a global customer that you would want to work directly with our line number portability team who can get the exact footprint. Each country is different in terms of requirements related to porting of their numbers. We have the ability to provide over 50 different countries a new number. Our global footprint will continue to increase. We're going to be looking at a data center in the Q1 to Q2 timeframe in Germany. In addition to our current locations in the PAC Rim region, we'll be looking to add another data center either in Hong Kong or Singapore around the Q2 to Q3 timeframe. So whether you have a customer here in the US or Canada or a global account, we would be able to meet all of those needs.
Great, thanks, Quinn. Got a couple questions here that have come in for FaxCore. Chris, I'm going to send this one over to you. Does FaxCore have the ability to fail over to another telephony device or a different location?
Oh yeah, great question. Thank you. We definitely have the ability to connect to a second board server or third board server, virtual fax port, fax over IP driver, or even use our preferred method, EtherFax. There's settings within FaxCore that you can say after the second or third ring, I'd like that automatically to send that call out over EtherFax. We have a lot of customers that do that. Talk to Instant Info about that, and they will give the information on that.
Perfect. Here's one more for you, Chris. Can I submit fax jobs from my cloud-based application, even though it's coming from my remote data center?
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a lot of customers that have their apps running out in the cloud, Amazon Data Center, for example, or there's so many different ones out there where their app is sitting out there and their FaxCore servers on premise, right? And they talk to each other over web services. And we're even adding the RESTful API into our next release. It's part of the roadmap. Thank you, Julie.
Perfect. Okay, we're going to jump back to our EtherFax team. Will EtherFax queue my inbound faxes should I lose connection to the service?
Yeah, that too is a great question. There's actually a couple options around that. In the event that there's some sort of catastrophic event at the facility or the customer's premise, we would be able to queue those faxes. And as you probably saw from Ken Romo's presentation, security is the most important thing for our customers. We will hold those faxes what we would call encrypted at rest. And then once that fax server is back online, we would deliver those faxes down to them. In addition, we will also do a pro heartbeat notification. So, and many times I've given presentations, I often ask, how many times has the carrier called you when you've had an outage? Well, that's something that we're doing. If we're noticing that we're not getting a heartbeat back from the fax server, we will go ahead and notify that. And then again, once the connection is back online, we will go ahead and deliver those faxes. In the event that you have SLAs tied to those faxes, we can busy out the numbers so those faxes would never be at rest within our data center. That gives the ability to maintain those SLAs that customers may have around the document process of receiving a fax. So we give that option down to the user to control that.
Perfect. Thanks, Quinn. Okay, I'm looking at the clock. We've got time for maybe one or two more questions before we will wrap this up. I'm going to send this one back over to Chris Kaiser. Can you increase the speed of rendering by adding additional rendering modules to the FaxCore application? Chris, are you with us?
I sure am. Sorry about that. We can absolutely do that. We can add many different rendering modules. We have customers that have 9 or 10 different rendering servers that single-handedly handle different. You know, when you're sending faxes out, you need to take those native documents and convert them into a faxable format for EtherFax, for your Brookshire board, whatever it might be. And increasing that bandwidth is recommended for a high output organization. So absolutely, we can add as many as you'd like. There is no additional charge for that.
Perfect. This one just popped up. Back over to EtherFax. Does EtherFax use any SIP trunking or FOIP?
No, and as Ken kind of highlighted the reasons in his presentation, we specifically use a TDM DS3 type of environment that provides not only the most reliable faxing, but it will also provide the quickest speeds at 33.6. I came from Brookshire. I spent about 5 years there, and the biggest challenge, as kind of Ken highlighted as it relates to SIP, is interoperability. Even in some of the best architectures, whether you have Cisco, Avaya, whatever it may be, you have a number of different variables ranging from a FOIP stack or T38 engine to a gateway to the carrier. And as mentioned by Ken in his presentation, we eliminate that. We take basically all of that and combine it into a secure transport, and our best transport is leveraging our TDM network.
Perfect. Thanks, Quinn. Okay, last question. We get asked this quite a bit, and I like the forward thinking of this question. The question is, does FaxCore have a roadmap? And Chris, I'd love for you to take to take this question, but also I know, welcome Quinn and Ken, you're welcome to speak to this as well for Etherfax. And Juan, I know we get asked this by our customers quite often, and it's something that we are happy to share with our customers. So I'm going to start with Chris, if you want to take this one regarding a roadmap, and then we can talk about kind of forward-looking on a more general level.
Sure. We absolutely do have a roadmap. Just to highlight a few of those: ASP.NET MVC direction for development, Server 2016, IIS 10, SQL Server 2016 and lower. All of those we're designing functionality connect. It's already there for most of them. Ability to save fax to Dropbox account. Another great one is Etherfax Connector. We're going to do native document delivery over their SEN network. More MFP integration with the latest SDKs. And as I had mentioned just a short bit ago, the full RESTful API to support integration from other platforms. There's a new Dialogic SDK that incorporates in-band signaling over SIP. So there's a lot of line items on our roadmap.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. Anyone else want to speak to the roadmap idea?
Yeah, this is Quinn. I'd be happy to speak to that. You kind of heard about our global footprint. Etherfax has grown by 153% since this time last year. We continue to grow, and as obviously we listen to our customers, that really kind of helps shape and dictate our roadmap. So not only providing some data sovereignty requests in the EMEA area, also looking at those requests in the PAC-RIM region. In addition, we're looking at some native file formats that we'll be doing. In addition, we have some initiatives around the Direct project. We've done some partnering there. We're continuing to do some partners. I encourage you, if you're in the healthcare space and you have some specific needs or perhaps a roadmap of your own around the Direct project, that you reach out to Instant Info. They would be happy to set up a call with us. Chris kind of highlighted something that we refer to as the Secure Exchange Network. That's the ability to take a document and send it guaranteed delivery, taking a 50-page document, for example, and be able to send that within seconds, regardless of what the two application points are. As long as those endpoints are on Etherfax, we can guarantee that 100% delivery. So our roadmap will continue to evolve, and the best way to be part of that roadmap is to reach out to someone like an IIS and identify what your specific roadmap is from a customer base.
Perfect. Thanks,
Julie, let me just add, we covered it pretty well. I mean, I think from Chris's standpoint on the FaxCore side and on the Etherfax side. But I think that's where we can help you from an Instant Info Systems perspective or our customers. We work very closely with our partners to keep on top of these roadmaps and be able to provide the input, as Quinn was mentioning. If there's any particular requirements you guys are looking for, definitely talk to your account managers. We have a great deal of expertise there with the account managers and with the technical support team that backs them up to really take a look at what those integrations and what the important integration points may be, and so we can consider them, and then they have the latest knowledge in terms of what our roadmap is for each of the different applications that we integrate and support.
Great. Thanks, Juan. And with that, I think we are going to wrap this up today. I know we've run a little bit long, but we had so many great questions, and I see just about everybody has hung in there with us. So thank you so much for joining us again today on this fourth day of our Make Fax Great Again webinar. Thank you for sticking with us today as we got through as many questions as possible. But please keep in mind, if your question did not get answered, we will be more than happy to reach out to you directly. Make sure you get all the information you need. And we will also be making a recording of this webinar available very shortly, so you'll be able to rewatch and re-listen all of the great information that was delivered today. So with that, I want to send a big, big thank you to our presenters today, Ken Romo and Quinn Corey from Etherfax, Chris Kaiser from FaxCore, and Juan Cueva from Instant Info Systems. Thank you to my presenters, thank you to our audience today, and have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.